Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the On Time, On Target morning brief where we invest with military precision. If you are catching this on a replay, thanks for checking us out. This is a military fighter pilot briefing from start to finish. I do all the talking. You guys add your value through a chat room and a Q&A room, which you don't see on the replay, but that's where folks have call signs. That's where they put in their information, and that's where we communicate with each other. I'm not trying to bring all the good ideas. I bring some good ideas, and then you guys bring the rest, and we chat it out. But if you bring something up, I promise you I will get to it and answer, at least give you my professional opinion on it. All right, with that, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the brief. It is August 11th of 2020. But you know what? I feel like it's October 4th of 1957. Tell me why in the chat. Does that date ring a bell for anybody? It's a 7-letter word. Reminiscent of what happened this morning with the announcement out of Russia. Sputnik. Yeah, that's right. Sputnik happened October 4th, 1957, and that changed the world, right? It was the space race. It was the Russians were first. It kicked off a whole slew of things in the United States because our number one competitor had now beat us to an answer. Does that sound anything like this morning? Do you think Donald Trump is lying there this morning, coming up with all kinds of things on how America can now beat Russia because they were the first ones to a vaccine? So that's the headline we're talking about, and I'm pausing to talk about it up front because this could be historic. This literally is a big deal that if it is true and Russia has a vaccine, that could change a lot of things. It could reignite one of the old uglier things in the world, the Cold War. We haven't really talked about Russia since we spent them into beating them in the Cold War. But yeah, Russia, if they got there first, again, that's a big if. That's a big deal. It also takes it balances the world again. Remember, worlds get out of balance when there's only 2 superpowers. The world needs 3. Sorry to take you back to my back-to-back master's degree in national security, but you need 3 to keep the peace. 2 starts a war. 3 keeps the peace because none of them wants to lose to the other 2. So if anything, maybe it's a stabilizing effect, or it could be complete BS, and we'll get something like walking it back later today of, well, what we meant was, and then you're going to see this nice big green market absolutely flop on its face. So we don't know. Stay tuned. But yeah, well, here, no, we're not gonna move on. I love that question, Predator. Would it be a profitable endeavor? Well, here's what I see is I even stopped reading your comment because here's what I would think, and I'm sorry for the military mind to be alert this morning, but I think if we can vaccinate and they can't, why don't we vaccinate our troops and go, I don't know, unleash the fury on the United States, right? Because our folks don't have to worry about it and their army does. So I'm thinking more from a military mindset of if they do have a vaccine, why would they even profit from it other than beef up their military and just go walking through Europe? I've tried that twice. Maybe they win the 3rd time. I don't know. We aren't exactly in a position to go over there and try to fight the Russians and the coronavirus at the same time. Right? Now, that's conspiracy stuff that should be off on a radio show, not a professional investing show, which is what you're paying for. So we're going to get back on target this morning. But yeah, there's some game-changing implications, and you are going to hear about this stuff on TV. You are going to hear it from Donald Trump. I am sure, as in a bid to get reelected, he's tough enough, and you think Sleepy Joe is going to stop the Russians from marching in and taking our country. So you heard it here first, hopefully, unless you tuned in somewhere else earlier. But interesting, certain piece of news. So, all right, let's get back to where we are, what we're doing here this morning. Our mission flow for today, our objectives, are to grow our money, protect our money, and live off our money. Our tactical objectives, we're going to talk about investing in a vaccine. Technically, there might be one out there. It is profitable, of course. So yeah, I agree. Now I read the rest of your comment there. I agree. Interesting is probably the best word you can throw out this morning. So, but from a portfolio perspective, obviously, if you want to invest in a biotech, there's going to be a couple winners and a lot of losers. That's called speculative investing. If you are correct, you can make a lot of money, like 2, 4, 8, 10x of whatever your investment is. But if you're wrong, it can go down to near zero, generally not to zero, but down close enough to zero where you'll dope yourself into buying more and then watch it sit there for years until you hire a professional investor that sells that off instantly. So that's just kind of how that story plays out. But our question of the day is, if you are going to invest in a speculative position, I'm going to tell you how to do it. So again, we'll cover that towards the end. Our flow for today, long, short, open, short, long. That means we are going to take the long view first. We're going to look around the world as far as the markets. Guess what? Vaccine news, everybody's in the green except for one person. You'll find out who that is in a minute. We'll look at our headline review, which I'm sure is quickly going to be dominated by vaccine talk. And then we're going to look at our long-term investments. We have 5 different biotechs up there. One is German. Nope, I didn't list the German one. Those are all American. But we'll talk about a couple more I have written down on my sheet that I was going to put up there. BioNTech's the German one. And then IBB is our ETF. If you just want us to go, I'll take it all. Throw some money into the IBB and call it good. We will do our short-term day trading stuff for 10 minutes around the close and then off into the Q&A. If you have any contingencies this morning, reach out to my staff at steve@ototnow.com. It's continuously monitored for you. And standard disclaimer, this is an educational presentation. You're here to learn. I do not know the specifics of your situation, so you have to do your own due diligence before you take action on anything I say today. All right, let's go look at the SPY 1 year in review. SPY is the S&P 500. That's the chart you're looking at. And we cover this every day, but we can move right to the tail of this beast. And, you know, there's the V shape. Somebody was trying to tell me yesterday it's a W, it's not, or you need to go back to school. But there are big 8 basically green candlesticks with a 9th one brewing and off into record highs. So that's the S&P in almost a new up channel. Maybe we'll see some new trend lines here soon. Let's flip over to the QQQ. Okay, NASDAQ has sold off a little bit. Again, this replicates the NASDAQ. It replicates mostly high tech, which has run up so much. So when you see tech sell off, it's something you enjoy, but it's something you don't have to worry about because it runs up so much, it does have to revert to the mean. So that's what you're seeing there. Back to the SPY, and then we'll focus in on the last 5 days. So there's our last 5 days. If you drew a regression line in there in statistics, it's pretty much straight up with some choppiness, some normal chop along the way. And that's what we're seeing this morning out of the overnight news. So today, setting up to actually be a pretty big green day. Is tech and the work from home stocks, are they going to go higher? No, it's a catch-up day. It is a catch-up day for all the value investors that have been left for dead. It's a day to buy airlines, cruise lines, movie theaters, blah, 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 blah. All the stuff that a vaccine could potentially save their bacon, if you will. So let's move on into the earnings. A couple of earnings that I will talk about. One is a NIO. If it's a Chinese EV EV car maker. Don't know why that was so hard to say. They're emerging as best of breed in China, which kind of irks me because I threw the dart at them earlier in the year, making that same case, and then was burned and hadn't sold out during the huge sell-off there. And that will be a mistake. That'll be one I wish I had back. I still wish I had a ton of NIO. I have a little bit, but not enough to move the needle, which irks me. But they beat their earnings, and they are kind of on fire. So really, I wouldn't move against them. They're set up for our long-term play of the day today. We shall see. All right, another one we'll take a look at it is SPG, Simon Property Group. It was either this morning or last night. May have been last night. I don't see it on the list. They beat earnings for, well, they lost less, right? So there's atrocious expectations of of them, how much money they'd lose with the malls. Again, they are the property owner of the malls. But the big headline we got yesterday with losing less is the fact that Amazon may come in and snap up this extra space. Well, guess what? It may not be Amazon. It could be anybody that's looking for cheap office space. I have always wanted an office, but guess what? I'm not willing to pay $8,000 a month for the inconvenience of driving somewhere else to do my business. But if I hire several folks, I'm going to need a place to put them, and it's not going to be upstairs at Steve's. So, all right, Let's move on to the headline review, and we will go around the world. You're going to see a lot of green there in our futures, except for tech. Tech's still a little bit on a breather. Go over to Europe, it was bright green. Maybe they're not thinking that the Russian army is vaccinating themselves and ready to roll through and tromp through France like they've done twice, evidently. Or maybe that's not going to happen. It sure could. Anyway, let's everything's in the green there, big time. Over to Asia. Guess who's the party pooper? Yep, China. China wants to go red here because they may have actually taken a ding to their superpower status, which obviously, from, again, a military background, you always paint your enemy to be 10 feet tall and bulletproof. That's where that phrase comes from. And the reason is because you in the military say that over and over so you can get funding for all your new toys, toys being war machines. So you have to have this crazy enemy that you need all these things to beat, and even if they're big or not. So they may not be as big as we thought, especially if Russia is actually more legitimate on the world stage. All right, over to the U.S. Big thing to point out there, we talked about, this was yesterday's number. Dow, those are kind of the laggards on the move up. Tech taking a break. And what is going on in the VIX? Killing me. There will be a VIX long play, but it's not today either, unless we get that flip or somebody walks back in Russia of, well, what the president really meant is we don't have a vaccine, but we were getting close. We're on step 2 of 40, that sort of thing. And then the market just does the back down. So, but the VIX is down at 21. Don't short it, don't take it long, but there will be a long trade coming up someday, kind of like short Tesla, someday. All right, off into bonds. Didn't move a whole lot across the bonds, but guess what did move? Well, a little bit. Move over to oil. Oil didn't move much other than it was a stabilizing factor here in the good news. But what did move? Yeah, for all those people who are like, I have a fear of missing out. That's called FOMO, and just bought gold yesterday. Well, guess what? If we have a vaccine, you can kiss your gold profits goodbye. These things will go right back to where they were. So, get out the way, watch out below. These things will reset. And obviously you see some big negative numbers there. We could even look at that on a short case today. I've never shorted an ETF, a precious metal ETF, but today would something be a reason to do so. So we'll take a look at that. Okay, back over to the headlines. Let's take a look at that happy trader guy. All right, up 350. Yeah, it's going to be up. We're going to be in the green unless we flip with a headline that challenges it. So we're flirting with a record. Markets actually tend to break records. It's kind of crazy. That's like a human behavior kind of thing. The closer it gets to the record, everybody gets all excited. And guess what we do when we're excited? We don't sell, we buy. So somebody goes out and we all start buying, and then it hits the record. So kind of crazy. But the S&P is close to its new record. So process that. The doom and gloom, the crying, the phone calls, everything from March when the world was falling apart. It's over. My portfolio is going to zero, Steve. And no, it's not. Hang in there a little bit. Let's take an opportunity to buy lower. And we're hitting new highs in August. Yeah, not by the end of the year. That's 5 months away, right? Back in August. And then they tell me that's not a V. All right. So let's see. There he is. Vladimir Putin claims that they have the first vaccine, and his daughter took it. That is like Russian dictator 101 right there, is we have it and my family took it sort of thing. So it'll be interesting if there's a study done, and I'm sure there will be. I don't know if it'll get mainstream or not. If closed societies or communist governments have a better chance at solving problems than open societies that are based off of money flow and everybody, a different motive versus you will, or your family dies kind of, thing. That's obviously an extreme. But, if it may actually be that your communist / closed societies may actually be quicker to answers on some of these things. Don't get excited. Don't tune out. Not a commie. I'm just saying that there might be something to that. Okay. You see half of the schools are staying home. Most of you already know that. You're catching that on mainstream media. I have 100% of my family staying at home, and we'll see. They may not learn anything, but they'll probably like school a lot more. Okay, but no, let's just get this. So for those that don't know me personally, my daughters play sports. Well, get this. So they're staying home from school, except for They have to go to school every day. Every day. Why? To play their sport. So that's kind of funny. Is can't risk it in the classroom, but yeah, let's go get sweaty and breathe all over each other playing sports. We'll see how that works out. Obviously, I would rather than be at school and learn in that environment and take the risk, but I do respect everybody else's right not to do so. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Lucid is a new name I'm not familiar with, so I will have to get smart with what a luxury EV sedan is. 517 is pretty good for a range. That's bigger than the Tesla numbers I've heard. So I will put Lucid on my homework list. Pretty cool. Stunning reversal in the chances of Main Street survival. You mean we're all not going to die and everybody's not employed and we're not all woe is me and we need the government to save us with universal basic income? No, we maybe don't need all of that. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Maria Sharapova in the news in a tech wellness brand, Therabody. Don't know anything about that. Interesting. All right, let's keep going down lower. Been a little bit long-winded today, so I will wrap this up. Okay, Nikola, garbage truck, early validation. Obviously, they popped like 22% yesterday on the 2,500 truck order they got. If they keep getting those, I have to walk back my words and have to go back long on Nikola. But until then, they're the guys that made $36,000 installing solar panels on their boss's house, which is not where you want to be. All right, let's go take a look at FinViz real quick. We'll get that pulled up for you. We're going to have SRNE as our name of the day that we're going to take a look at. And yeah, here's your biotech investing. So it's really investing in a vaccine. You could have done this back in the day. I took one trade this year that absolutely blew the roof off of it, and it was Inovio, INO. That's on our other screen. We'll get to that. But yeah, here's how you can make multiples of your money. If you're right, if you're wrong, you have to be prepared to lose everything. So just consider that, and we'll talk more at the end of the day as far as how to actually do that. But you're going to see the same thing. No profits. That ain't happening because they're going all in on the vaccine, right? And you're going to see a bunch of ugly numbers. Look over at the short float, 24%. So yikes. But the good news, remember that short ratio we talked about yesterday being 6 days for the stock that I can't remember that we looked at yesterday. But here it's a big heavy float, but it's only 1%. So just something to consider. And then look at those numbers off to the right. Yeah, it'd be nice to, in the performance for the year be up 779%. That's why people do it. But you'll see other swimming examples of the where that works against you. Okay, let's bring that down. We will go over to the Schwab Advisor Street Smart Edge and look at some of the other names. And then we'll get set up for our day trading stuff. So we have Sorrento in the upper left. That's one we just took a look at on FinViz. Moderna is one that's been in and out of the news for maybe not for a company out there. So they leg up and they've kind of leveled off now. And Novio is the one that I rode from $5 to $8.50 for a multiple R day, like multiples. And basically look at them now. They touched 30 and now they're down to 18.99 or so. They're out of vogue, so that thing could fall like a rock. Gilead, obviously, you've heard that name in the news several times. So falling like a rock now as well. You could short some of these names into today. So we'll take a look at maybe shorting some bios. Inovio and Invax are on our list. BIIB, Biogen, again, they're really working on the Alzheimer's thing. That's that recent pop a couple of days ago, but they'll probably sell off a little bit as they'll be caught up in this. And then the IBB is the ETF where you can go in and try to own them all, right? So you're going to have some winners and a bunch of losers, and you think overall it's going to be a net positive as it rolls up. So that's what I have for our longs of the day, and now we will get into our day trading opportunities. What you're going to see in the chat is some names going to start to pop up. Those are names that we have looked at ahead of time that my staff has put together. There's a whole bunch of different ideas here today, and when you see a long name, where you see a market that's gapping up like it is, it's tough to take it short. You saw that yesterday. So there they just popped in. Yeah, we just kind of threw out the airlines and cruise lines. It's like pick your fave because they're all going to travel together. See what I did there? Travel. Okay. But those are the names we're going to pop up, and then our short names, again, are either earnings or stuff that I talked about specifically. So let us go ahead and talk about these in order. AXP will be the first one. We'll take them in the order there. Okay, American Express is gapping up from 101 to 104. Let's see, partnership is the only news headline they have there. So a little about a 3%. So acquiring Cabbage, is that up here? Or is that some? Okay, we found elsewhere that they're doing an acquisition of a company called Cabbage. That's Cabbage with a K, which I have heard about, but I can't remember exactly, and that's okay. But they do have an acquisition in the works, so that will help that as well. Let's see, let's take a look at NEO. 1421 up to 1520. I'm sure that's going to be 8% or so, 7%, top of the leaderboard on that tab. You can take that higher if you want. That is so tough. They beat earnings, they have positive headline news, so a lot to like there. All right, JPM gapping up as well. I think this is kind of a left for dead sort of thing. I guess they did have earnings there too, or there's forms being filed. Those aren't earnings. Stimulus hopes. That's what it is. So again, Trump did his executive actions over the weekend. Excuse me. Now that's bringing both sides back to the table for a deal. Deals do help banks. So could be moving higher from there. I like that. I don't know if it's enough to trade. Out of those first three, I'm probably thinking NEO. We shall see. All right, let's pick an airline. So we'll go with AAL, American Airlines, which, oh, by the way, is my least favorite. 14 up to 15, so gapping up. All the entire travel industry will gavel up. Travel up today. Let's look at CCL, Carnival Cruise, and see how that is probably going to be a mirror image. So AAL, CCL, a little more room to run up there. I think 1544 up to 16.5. Let's see. I think probably cruises honestly stand to gain more because we just got the print number yesterday that the air travel is actually the best it's been during COVID, which is, that's an easy fence to jump over, but that's better than not jumping over it. So I think the cruise lines have a little more room to run up. We'll put CCL in there. Actually put in Norwegian NCLH. They're a better breed, so let's get rid of CCL, NCLH for a long look. You can see off to the right, 2.5 million shares, up 8% on the news. I kind of like that. Okay, so let's look at some of the shorts that we have out there. OXY missed earnings. They're also on the verge of bankruptcy or in bankruptcy, either one. 1648 down to 618. This could fall like a rock. Let's see, loses 8.4 billion in second quarter. Is that bad? Yeah, that's bad. But the problem with the stock like this is it's kind of be sticky. Like you should have already sold it now if you were gonna sell it. It could be bolstered some by the vaccine news. So again, it's tough. But I can't stand Oxy, so I would love to see it fall. But me not standing it and loving it doesn't mean it is going to fall. We shall see. INO, Inovio, this is one we talked about the other day for me, or today, 18.99 down to 17, falling like a rock. It's in a trend line down. I do like that for a short. All right, Invax, same profile. Kramer said 2 nights ago that if Novavax gets the vaccine, he would get a dog and name it Novavax. So thought it was funny. But obviously this thing is not in the downtrend like INO. It's in an uptrend because that's all anybody's ever talked about is Sorrento and Invax. But it is falling today because it doesn't appear it's going to be first. I wouldn't necessarily short this. I would look for one that's more out of favor. I do see another name that I like to short, and that's Tilray, TLRY, is off 10% this morning. Let's see if there's a headline associated with that. Pot producer, yep, pot's been just out of favor. They missed results. So Tilray 797 down to 730. Back that chart out another 50 days or so. Okay. All right, this is one of these that if it can fall below 7, it's going to fall off the chart. So we're going to take a look at Tilray short and see what kind of motion we can get out of it. Okay. 6 minutes to go. Let's look at the GLD. Okay, the 190 down to 182. So literally when you look at a chart exactly like this, walk back to the left. Anybody who bought GLD in the past 10 days, not the first drip, but the second one all the way across there, has lost money. Now, as they wake up this morning, that's when people sell. So I could see gold selling off pretty hard. Something we'll keep an eye on. I just can't think of designing a trade around the GLD. But let's look at silver. Silver's probably more pronounced because it's a lower price point. So there, falling off a cliff. Only those who bought it in the last 3 days are upset though. So there's a little difference in the selling there. But 27 down to 25, we'll keep an eye on that. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the tabs now. All right, we talked about NEO. We've got American up there, 6.8%. Those are perfect numbers for us. We have Carnival up there, Norwegian, Sorrento selling off on the news. We do have silver gapping down that 7%. That meets our numbers. I'm not going to do that. Man, everybody we've talked about is on that front page, pretty much except for the indices that trade. Next tab, please. Boeing on the move up. Again, this will be good for the airlines and for defense and Boeing, so I like that. Not enough to trade. Home Depot, BlackRock moving up, not significantly. Don't have the volume on the others. Let's move on. Mostly trading. Got Invax on the way down. Is that on our short list? It is. Yes, we already looked at that. Thanks to the staff there for bringing that one out. I do like that one. Click on Invax again. Down to 167. All right. May take a look at that. All right, let's go to the next tab. There's Norwegian really jumping off there, and NEO. And then all the cruise lines, yes. Looks like the cruise lines are moving more than the airlines, so you definitely want to take the cruise lines if you're going to trade one of the two. All right, and let's go to the last one. A couple of restaurants moving up. BJ's Restaurant up low volume, but up 11%. There's American again. Dave & Buster's on the move up. They would be hugely impacted by this if there's a vaccine. Click on play, P-L-A-Y. It's the last chart we'll look at, then we'll get set up. 1504 up to 1620 pre-market, really coming back strong. So that's something. I used to love this stock because it's a great place and they just charge the absolute crap out of you for anything you do inside of there. So it's a good business model. But don't think I'm going to take it for a trade today. All right, let's move over to TD Ameritrade. You're about to see the Think Pipes platform. We're going to set up 3 trades for you this morning. Have almost 2 minutes to go, so I'll get things set up and looked at, and then I will get our intro right on into that morning bell. So on the left screen, let's go ahead and look at NEO, N-I-O. We'll put NCLH in the middle. And then we will look at Tilray, T-L-R-Y, I may switch that to Oxy after I take a look at it. We shall see. There's lots of potential shorts out there. So my theory is with the overall market being where it is, let's just refresh real quick down on a different screen. All right, still up 324 points in the Dow. Tech's still kind of off a little bit, down 0.5%. So it really could open either way. It's such a good news day that it could scream higher, but we will keep an eye on it for that. All right, entry points. So 15, you'll need at least a 20-cent stop there, maybe 30. Same for Norwegian Cruise Lines. Over in Tilray, it's such a low point, you could go with a 10-cent stop. So go ahead and get your chart set up. Again, we're looking at the 2 longs first and then the short. Here we go, 30 seconds to the market open for today's plays of the day. You're going to see 4 screens here on ThinkPipes. On the far left, we have the SPY, so we can see the overall trend of the market as it opens. I'll refer to the other 3 panels as left, middle, and right. On the left panel, we have Neo Long based off of earnings and plus a lot of momentum in the EV space. In the middle, we have Norwegian Cruise Lines Long based off of the vaccine news that we got this morning and the fact that it's been absolutely crushed. It's got more room to run up. And on the right side, we have our only short of the day, which is Tilray, again, based off the negative. We'll be looking at all 3 for a proper setup and entry, and there went the bell. I'm not in a hurry to get into any of these today. So we're just going to kind of see how they set up and see what the market does. If the market starts going higher, I'm more inclined to take the longs. If the market starts rolling over, I'm more inclined to take the short. Tilray's sitting there right at that 10% down kind of space. So I like that. All right, Northwest Cruise Lines looks kind of big and red. Ooh, I like Neo setting up with those 2 big dojis to the downside. So we're going to take Neo long. We're going to wait till it gets up to 1540, and then we'll take it with a 15-cent stop. So again, you're not in the trade right now. You want it to climb up and hit 1540 before we get in it. Okay, there you're in the trade. So in 1540 long, we're going to put in our stop at 1525. We'll get our arrow in there just in case you look away, just to make sure you know which way we're taking the trade. And then we're going to let that cook. Obviously, that's got to move 45 cents. That'd be up to the chart, off the top of the chart. So we're in that trade. We like it. Okay, Northwest Cruise Lines, with a market going up, that cruise line selling off kind of hard. There's 2 ways to look at that. One, that's good news. We're going to get a great entry point. Another way is nobody wants to hold a cruise line still. Let's flip over to CCL and see in that middle panel, just checking out the other 2 cruise lines. To see how they are acting. Same. So check out an airline, AAL, probably doing the same thing. So travel's selling off after the big move up. So not ideal for what I would want to see there. Let's take a look at another long name. So Play, P-L-A-Y, that was the last one we talked about, is Dave & Buster's. We just busted out of the Neo trade. It dojied down there past our 1525. However, close. I did say I wanted a 20-cent stop originally, then I changed my mind. That would be interesting if it holds. That's not going to hold it. That's selling off. Okay, so you see the pattern there. That is massive selling when you see a jump and you see the volume in Neo. So just interesting to watch. That's 4 million shares. 4.8 million shares. I mean, that's what you're looking for when you're looking for a short. So probably some pretty good profit taking in somebody just dumped a huge Neo position there. So can I turn around and take that long? No, not after a move like that. That's just too hard to take. So down an R in a Neo. And again, now we're looking back long. Looking at Play, not the same sort of crazy action, but not a whole lot of action at all. So not really enthused about that. Another long, JPM was the name we put up there. Well, we found our winner, but unfortunately we weren't in it. So $2 move up, so that's pretty good. Yeah, it's probably 2 R's. You probably would have had a dollar stop up over 100, but certainly did take off. I like that. It's a long-term name. I consider it a best of breed, even though I'm largely out of the banks right now. But we're not, you can't take it here, and the market's starting to come in. So let's go back to look at our Tilray short here. I do like the short thesis. Let's take Tilray short if it gets down to 712, meaning if it hits a new low of the day, it could continue down to sell off. So that's where we'll look to enter if it actually hits it. And if it does, then it would be we'd put the stop at 726, which would be a 14-cent stop. I'd like to clear the most of the day's congestion. So again, looking for an entry, get set up for Tilray for a short. The market's kind of helping us out there by selling off pretty hard. Overall, the Dow up over 1%, NASDAQ down 0.67, and S&P still in the green. All right, watching Tilray did not hit it. We're not in that trade yet. Let's look at the middle panel, another long that we had out there. was AXP. Was the first one we actually wrote down. So, all right, opened at 10, looks like 104 is there for the open. Went up, you don't have a huge trade there, but made a little bit of money before it started selling off. Market continues to sell off, so I think Tilray is going to hit here real quick. Have that market order set in for a market short order for that 712 if it hits it. Okay, still nothing yet. Let's check on the left panel there. There it is. So we're in Tilray short at 712. Stop set in at 726. I'll disregard that first doji. So that would be a 14-cent stop. So obviously that is going to be 3 times 14, 42 cents to the downside. So we got to go all the way down to 670 for that to hit. We basically, in order for Tilray to pay off our 3 Rs, we need the market to continue to fall. Otherwise, we'll probably just monitor it for 5-10 minutes or so and see if the selling continues. I do like the fact that the volume is picking up with selling in Tilray. So I don't see it going all the way back up to 726 anytime in this first half an hour. That's just crazy out of NEO. Goodness. 15 down. Well, there's markets continuing down. So got to like that if you're in something short. So I don't see anything. We'll refresh CNBC on another page. There's no breaking news that's causing this sell-off that I see yet. Nope, but it is kind of moving down. Still the same old stuff that was on there. So again, down an R from our trade in NEO. It really didn't work. But hey, kids, if you want a lesson on why you set a stop, if you were in NEO thinking I'll just hang in there for another 10 cents, another 10 cents, another 10 cents, yeah, that's $1.50 down. And that's how people who are not disciplined get knocked out of the game. So don't do that. Learn. All right, 698 is our first R, so we'll just kind of throw a tick mark in there. Again, just watching Tilray fall. All right, let's look at some other shorts. So we'll leave NEO up there just because I'm more curious than anything else, but we'll go to the middle panel. And thank you, got the arrow in there. And then we'll look at some shorts. OXY was a name that just can't be doing well today. So it did back up. It looks like a pretty nice entry there. So about a 20 cent in. 40, 55, 30. Ooh, that might have been a little tough. 35-cent entry, and then, but who's buying Oxy on a day like today? So that should continue to sell off. We had 2 biotechs we were looking at going short. One is INO, Inovio. Wow, $1.20 in the first 2 minutes. That's pretty crazy. Down 17%. And Invax. Pretty same thing if you just sell that, if there's the vaccine. So I think, and I considered doing that just because it's the vaccine news and there's going to be so many people sitting there with market sell orders at the beginning. So that one's kind of on me. I think, and it's obviously when you look at the chart, it would have worked. But thinking through the philosophy of investing in that, I'll keep an eye on those opportunities in the future. So that one's on me. All right, in the middle, let's check out the GLD to see if it's selling off. Surprisingly, no. So I guess all the people that were spooked out of it right away were just gonna, buy it back. I don't know, we shall see. Or the fact that the market's falling and then people stop selling. So if the market goes straight up, then you could see the gold continue to fall. Silver should be a little more pronounced. Let's check out the SLV on the middle screen. Nope, pretty much same pattern as gold. That's kind of surprising there. All right, we're hitting 2R on our Tilray trade. Again, you've got the double whammy of the pot stocks missing earnings. You've got missing earnings. Pot stocks have been selling off lately too. Okay, there was one more I wrote. Rio, R-I-O. Is that really what I don't remember saying that. That's Rio Tinto. I didn't talk about them. So don't know what that is. All right, let's check out our favorite Luckin Coffee before we leave this screen. All right, Luckin kind of selling off today, down 4%. As far as our trade, we're at 2R and the market's backing up. you could kill it here just because the market's backing up and call it a 2R day. Or instead of doing that, let's hold out for 3Rs because it's really another 14 cents. We're not that far from it. 670 is our target for 3R. But what I would do with my stop is I would put it up at 7 right now and just say, you know, that way, no matter what, we're walking out of this trade with almost an R. So if it backs up at all, I don't think it's going to back up higher than 7. But if it does, then you're out of the trade there. So just keep that number in mind. That's one way to play it. Or you can either kill it, call it good at 2Rs, or just keep an eye on the market. Now, what you tend to see in markets that have come back that far that fast is for it to turn around and restripe down to the red. And if it does continue striping down, then yeah, you definitely just want to hold that down to 3R. Okay, Luckin's not doing much. Let's check out Workhorse in that middle pane. A little bit off. Let's Nikola, NKLA. All right, and then Shell, SHLL. Yeah, about the same. All right, so have a plan for your Tilray because I'm going to move off of this screen. Again, if you want to back it out, if it hits up at 7, you can just leave it for the day. And we're basically even between the two trades, maybe down just a few pennies, or letting it ride based on the markets starting to fall again. So your call. I'm going to hold out for 3R because I don't care. So I like the way it's kind of setting up there to drop again. So I would not put that stop in at 7. I would just let it fall. And I would put my break even at the entry point all the way up at 712. So, because I do think it's going to sell out through the day. So let's leave this and go to charts and take a look at what's going on in the bigger picture. Again, the long-term investments are far more important than our short-term stuff. So CLIS, they've got a TV channel show that's supposedly coming out anytime soon. It's a penny stock, so they're on their way up. Boeing up nicely, Southwest, JP Morgan, ConocoPhillips, ExxonMobil. You don't hear those names getting positive news much anymore. And then Bank of America. So kind of the left for dead, right? The left for dead thesis is coming back up, and that fits with what I'm seeing out of the overall numbers. All right, let's move to the what's down on the day. All right, so there you have Nikola's down on the day, Northwest Bio, Newmont Mining, Take Two, the GLD, Luckin on the top of the red leaderboard, which it's very happy that it's there. The one day I didn't look was yesterday. It was up 7% by the time I looked, so I should learn to not look. Activision, Trade Desk, those are all good names that are happen to be off today. All right, let's go back and check our trade out. All right, so if you set it to kill it at 7, you'd be back out of that trade. You'd basically be up an R in Tilray. Otherwise, you would be or even for the day. I like holding it back up to the entry point, so I'm willing to go break even on Tilray because I just don't see it climbing back up. So I will check things in the chat while we leave this screen up there. Yeah, whether the vaccine covers the flu vaccine, whether it models, we would automatically think that a vaccine for COVID would match the flu vaccine, right? Where it goes widespread, everybody has it. There's new strands that get put in every year, that sort of thing. So we don't know. No questions there, so I will go right into our question of the day. So we'll pull up Investopedia and put a speculative investing and see what sort of hit it gets. But I'm mostly going to talk instead of following through the speculative, what it says. Yeah. So there you go. We'll bring the screen down to this, and then we'll check back on our trade later and see how it's going. All right, today's question of the day is, how do you add a speculative position to your portfolio? Well, before you do that, you want to ask yourself why you're adding a speculative position to your portfolio. And then based off of that answer gives you more of the how. So first of all, why are you doing it? If you are bored with your portfolio, I would say that's a good thing. However, we are humans. Sometimes you need a little, a little excitement, something fun in there, if you will, is what I hear clients say. I try to say divorce that from your portfolio. Your portfolio is all business. That's how I view it. But you're doing one of three things by putting a speculative position in there. You're investing, which is what I would say you should be doing, where you're allocating your capital with the probability of gain and possibility of loss, or you're gambling, which is reverse the definition, the probability of loss, but the possibility of gain, meaning you're going for that home run, but you're probably going to strike out more often than not. Or you're just doing it for sheer entertainment because you're bored. And I would say if you want to gamble, go to Vegas or find some other way to do it. And if you want entertainment, find another avenue other than your money to entertain yourself. So, but assuming that you're investing, how would you put a speculative position in your portfolio size? Well, it depends a lot on your portfolio. So we're going to talk about a concept called position size. So, or position sizing. And when I talk to clients, if somebody says, hey, I want to get involved in a market. Here's $100,000 and we're starting from scratch. And most people aren't starting portfolios from scratch. But if you do start a portfolio from scratch, the first thing you do is you talk with the client about what sort of diversification they want. If they're saying, well, I want to own every stock in the universe, well, that's easy. We're not going to buy them all. We'll just go ahead and buy the total, the total market mutual fund that has them all. And we'll pay that fee to have everything under the sun till the end of time. That's not really how I invest. So that client probably wouldn't have gotten that far with me because they don't need me just to buy the market and close their eyes. Do that on their own and face the consequences or get the results, as they would say. But if you are talking about maybe I want, a handful of index funds, it's like, okay, would you want total market index funds or are you looking for specific theme index funds? And they're like, well, I would like to get into a theme. It's like, okay, now we're talking. So if you have a portfolio of individual stocks and index funds that are part of themes, like Hero is an esports theme. It's like you don't want to try to figure out who's best of breed, Activision or Take-Two Interactive. You don't even want to mess with that. You just want the whole thing. Or like today we talked about with biotech, you don't want to try to pick a name. You want to go in there and just own it all because you believe in the space. So if you go to design a portfolio, you have what's called major, minor, and then speculative positions. So in a 100,000 portfolio, if you talk to the client and say, what sort of diversification you want, and they say, I don't know, how about 20 positions? And I say, that's plenty of diversification. Now, before somebody out there just squealed, there have been PhD studies that say 16 positions is all you need to have the entire market level of diversification. You don't need 16 ETFs with 1,000 stocks in each. At that point, you are over diversified. It's called diversification is the vernacular for that. And if you're going to do that, why bother? Just buy the whole thing. So I know a lot of people disagree, and I will tell you Big Box Finance has put the Kool-Aid out there in all of their marketing that says it can't be done. You need to buy all these huge expensive ETFs and mutual funds. It's just not true. You're getting marketed to. You can be smarter than that if you want, and that's probably why you're here. So you need 16 to 20 positions, I think, is a good. So if somebody says, again, here's $100,000 and we want to set up a portfolio and we want to have, say, 20 positions. Well, if they were all equal, that would be 5,000 each, but we don't want equal. We want names like Amazon and Apple that we believe in that are going to be around for years. We want those to be major positions. So we would set those at 10,000. We would set our minor positions at 5,000, which are maybe Pfizer. It's like, yeah, I hold Pfizer. I don't love Pfizer, but I think Pfizer is positioned, once there is a vaccine, they'll kind of roll in and mass produce it and make some gains off of that. Plus, they just had an officer of the company buy 500,000 shares, always a good sign. So maybe you want Pfizer, but you don't need a full position because you're not going to hold it forever. So you'll use a minor position and set those at $5,000. Now, if you want a speculative position, say NIO, Chinese, EV maker, if you want a speculative position, well, then you don't want to start with 10,000 because it can go to zero. You want to start with your correct position size, which again would be about 2,500, about 1/2 of your minor size, and then 1/4 of your major size. Your majors you're pretty much going to hold through any downturn. Like, why sell Amazon just to buy it back, right? You may buy more if it gets lower, like we did back in March, but generally you're holding those forever. Your minor names, you can generally move out of those when you're facing a correction or a bear market. And then your speculative names, pretty much need to get out of those if the market starts to get hit. But if it's a specific laser focus, like a biotech, maybe you hold on to it. It depends. So that's how you construct your portfolio. Now, if you have $1 million portfolio, things will be a little bit different. But you can generally think 50,000 or so could be a major position size. You may go up to 100,000 in Amazon, something like that. I always use a maximum of you can't have one position be more than 25% of your portfolio. And if, like me, you've been in Apple for years, it keeps hitting that 25%. So I can't buy more, sort of thing. Or I keep telling clients, no, we have enough of that. So, but back to the speculative stuff is you can also use speculative, the position sizing to start new positions. So if you're going to buy, say you want in Tesla stock and there's just no way to get in at this price, you can buy a share or two at your speculative position and then scale into it from there. But let's go back to the speculative. So you go in and say it's NEO, and you buy, say you have a 100,000 portfolio and you buy a $2,500 position. Well, first of all, we want that big enough. The reason you don't just buy $500 worth is it's not big enough to move the needle in your portfolio. And you want to get paid if you're right. Okay, you want to be able to stomach the loss if you're wrong, but you also want to make some money if you are right, because you've done all the work. So in a $100,000 portfolio, $2,500 is obviously 2.5%. So if you are wrong and it goes to zero, they go bankrupt and they send you a "I'm so sorry" note in the mail. I'm sorry about that. And it goes to zero, you've lost 2.5%, which is a number you can stomach. If, however, it starts going up, you have the chance to make a significant return on your portfolio. So that's why you have to position size very carefully. So how do you manage it once you have the position in your speculative? And let's talk about two scenarios. Say you have your $2,500 of NEO and it doubles. Well, now you're into money management. Regardless of why you bought it, regardless of what you thought, maybe you got lucky, doesn't matter. You have 25, you've turned it into $5,000 from a money management perspective. Even if you still love the stock, even if you still think it's going to 100 or 1,000, you sell half. You sell half because that is exactly the amount of capital you put into that position. Okay. And then the other one's called, if you're familiar with gambling terms, it's called house money. You are playing with house money. I don't like those terms because that seems gambling, but you now have backed out the capital that you put in there. And that way, if those remaining shares go to zero, you're even, you can't lose. And if they run up 100 times, well, you get all that profit. So you back it out. Same thing. If you have a $2,500 position and the position drops in half, there's a couple of options. Well, if you still believe in it, if you don't believe in it, then sell it. Just take the loss, move on, no big deal. And you have to be able to do that. If, however, you still believe in it, you want to double up. So say 2,500 is what you put in and it turns in half. This is where you have to listen to the math, otherwise you'll dork it up. $2,500, you've turned that into $1,250. When you double up, you want to put in $1,250. You do not want to roll in with another $2,500. That would be tripling up at that point. And then you're now getting into sort of gambling terms, because you just want to double up once and then wait for it to go back higher and make your decision from there. If you have a specific investable thesis on why you bought that stock, i.e. you're waiting for it to happen. You bought Moderna to see if they came out with the vaccine. When somebody else comes out with the vaccine, you have to say, my thesis is no longer true, and you sell. So if you have a thesis, you have to sell. You don't care whether it dropped 80% or 90%, you just sell and move on, and you have to be okay with it. Otherwise, you shouldn't be in speculative names. Okay, so that's what I have. When would you sell all of it? Once, if it's going up, that's easy, right? Because it leaves speculative and becomes normal. Trade Desk was speculative at one point. Now it's normalized, right? Apple was a speculative stock when it first came out. Now it's been normalized. So then you follow more normal rules as far as when you would get out of it. So to recap, know why you're getting into a speculative name. Are you investing, gambling, or entertainment? And then basically, if you're not investing, try to find some other ways to spend your money for those others too. Make sure you have a specific size for what you want in there for your speculative positions. And then you want to make sure you have a plan for what to do, whether it goes up or down. because it could double or it could get cut in half in like a day because it's a speculative position. So that's all we have for today's show. Please reach out to me at steve@ototnow.com with any questions or comments. Thanks again for joining me, and here's to you fighting the good fight every day to be on time, on target with your financial goals.